Welcome to the World Building Tools portion of the Solstice Online demo. So far I haven't talked very much about specific rules of Solstice worlds, such as what happens when you die or what happens when you level, because these are things that are defined in the world by the person who builds the world. This video is meant to show you how easy it is to define a world in Solstice. I won't touch on every feature, but I'll try to give you an idea of what is possible. Let me just log into the tools here. This is what I call the control panel. It is the first page where I can get to most of my options for building the world. First, I'd like to show you the map building portion. This is where I actually lay down the cells for the world. As you can see, the world is laid out in cells just like it is in the game. This is how we actually build the world. If I hover over the upper left corner of any of these blank squares, you'll see an add button highlight. Clicking on this will allow me to add a new cell there, and I can also click on any other cell's link, and that'll allow me to edit the information of that cell. All of these fields you see on these pages are data driven. That means if their model changes in the database, these pages automatically reflect those changes, and I don't need to recode these pages just to work on the world. Alright, let's take a look at some objects of the world. Pretty much everything in the world is an object. First, we'll look at items. This is a current list of all of the items in this Solstice realm. I can add new ones by clicking the Add button on top, or I can edit existing items, which I'll show you here. These are the fields currently associated with items in the database. Again, if the model of the database changes, this page will dynamically change. I don't have to edit the code for the page. These fields you see represent basic information about the item. However, we can add really neat magical effects and all kinds of stuff by using properties, which I'll show you. Okay, so this is the elixir of strength, which we saw in the last video. For 30 minutes, it should increase our strength by 1. We need to add these properties to this item. I'll click the Add button next to Properties. I'll select the property I want to add out of this list. I'll add the value for the property, and I'll submit it. Then I'll do the same for the strength. And that's how I made this item increase your strength by 1 for 30 minutes. Or 1800 seconds, as you probably saw me type in. Now let's look at NPCs, or non-player characters. These are the computer-controlled characters in the game. They usually have quests, and sometimes are merchants to sell you items. They are an object with basic information as well. But let's look at links for this particular thing. Links are how we make objects relate to each other. Here we can see this NPC's contents. These are the items she will sell. And these are the quests she has to offer. And this is the world cell this NPC lives. Speaking of quests, let's take a look at one of those real quick. Here we can see quests have some basic information like the other objects, and we also have properties like items have, except they're called requirements. Adding a requirement is very easy, as you can see. The wolf pelt I just added is now a requirement for this quest. We also have rewards here where we can add rewards, and items used in quest. Those are items that are given to the character to use for the quest. Those are all managed the same way. So it is easy to piece this world together, but sometimes you really just need a broad overview of something like a quest. We have a tool called the Quest Manager. This allows us to see everything about a quest that's important. At the top here we can see the NPC this quest starts at and where that NPC is located. We have the quest text. We can see the required items, how many of the item we need, what drops that item and at what percentage, and every cell in the world that contains whatever drops that item. It's all right here. Let's look at another quest real quick. Oh, this quest hasn't been assigned to an NPC yet. I'll just click Add NPC here and assign it to an NPC. Going back to the Quest Manager now, we'll see the NPC at the top and the cell it's located in. Here we see more required items. Notice how the enemies have a percentage rate of drop for these quest items. The percentage is given when the items are linked to an enemy, and the links are added on a links page similar to the one I showed you before. And quests listed under requirements means that that quest is a prerequisite. It has to be completed before this quest will be given. The last major thing I want to show you here is the character details section. Here we define the basic properties of how the world operates. For example, we can define the max character level, the default size of the character's backpack, the size of the character's bank, the starting cell a character will start in, and the starting cemetery. And we can even define our own custom text that will be displayed when a character is first created. The next screen takes our max level and allows us to define the experience required in order to obtain the next level. This next page of character details is really cool. Here we can define exactly what happens to a character at every level. For example, here see how it says starting character. This defines all of the stats that a character will start out with, and you can see they'll be given a skill and also a weapon, the rusty dagger. Also notice the race specific modifications that happen when a character is created. If you make a dwarf, you get +2 constitution but -2 charisma. Let's look to see what happens in this realm when we level. At level 1, all characters will get 1 constitution and 1 training point. In Solstice realms, you can level classes separately from your character level, and we can see here that there are class-specific modifications to your stats as well. For example, if you use your training point to train as a warrior, you'll gain 1 strength. If you use your training point to train as a ranger, you'll get 1 dexterity instead of the strength. In fact, in Solstice you can multi-class. You can train in all of the different classes as much as you want, but you'll be maintaining a separate level for each class. So you could be gaining level 5 for a warrior and then gain level 1 for a ranger later, and when you get that level 1 in ranger, that's where you get this +1 dex. This page is also where we can define what happens when we die, such as being transferred to a graveyard, losing a certain percentage of experience points, losing money, that kind of stuff. I know this is pretty confusing, but it's really just to give you an idea of the flexibility we have in building worlds. Alright, I know there's plenty more with these tools I could show you, but this is really just to give you a general idea of what it takes to build a world in Solstice. I really appreciate you watching, and don't forget to visit me at www.solsticeonline.net to give feedback or to get involved in the project.